Look, I don't want this hamburger. It's too small. Take that one back and bring me the big one. Take that one back and bring me the big one. Bring me the big one. Big one. Big one.
Bullshit! Bullshit! Bullshit!
Penn Teller's Bullshit was probably one of the most profoundly stupid shows of the late 2000s. Many of their debunkings were questionable, and even when they go for easy targets like antivaxxers or pyramid schemes, they do a pretty poor job, bringing on shady experts.
Bob Levy, Senior Fellow in Constitutional Studies at the Cato Institute.
Before shouting,
Bullshit!
The science regarding the link between secondhand smoke and tobacco-caused harms is tenuous at best.
It's the sort of stuff you enjoy when you're going through your teenage libertarian phase. But one, and only one, of their episodes is actually really good, though not how the hosts intended to be. Pay close attention, and their debunking of pyramid schemes is accidentally a beautifully crafted critique of commodity fetishism in American consumerist suburbia.
Raise your beverages.
The show visits a meeting hosted by an MLM which sells meat and meat cooking accessories. Excuse me, did I say meeting? I meant
MEATING, meeting.
Deep in Midwestern suburbia, buried in a pastel beige basement, a bunch of middle-aged men gather to... Sorry, did I say basement? I meant...
Man cave! Man cave! Man cave!
That's actually the name of the MLM. The name is pretty indicative of the general tone of the,
Meeting.
The whole thing is framed as a male-exclusive space,
This is gonna be toast to being a man.
where away from their wives, men can act like men.
We can fart when we want. Yeah! As much as we want. Hell yeah!
It's basically a frat. Except it's a bunch of kinda chubby, balding, middle-aged guys in a depressing beige basement in a really depressing beige suburb. So what's the deal here? Why are all these guys so enthusiastic about their meat?
Take your meat.
And their beer? In general, what's the deal with guys and bacon and raw steaks
Make it very rare.
and chugging beer?
Talk about meat, eat, drink beer. Talk about meat, eat meat. MEATING, meeting.
Right, we are going to need a bit of Marx here. I'll keep it brief. Marx claimed that under capitalism, social relations between people become obscured by commodities that mediate those relations, and in the process, commodities become fetishized. People attribute properties to them that they don't actually have, and which are actually the properties of the underlying social relations. So for example, there's nothing inherent about a Rolex that gives its owner status. In reality, because a Rolex watch is so expensive to buy,
There are certain watches that can cost up to $70,000.
and those with a lot of money are at the top of the social hierarchy, a Rolex only represents a high social status. It doesn't convey it by itself. The point Marx is making is that it's social relationships that define status, not the material decorations you surround yourself with. A CEO has high status because he has potentially thousands of people subservient to him in a corporate pyramid. His mansion is just a symbol of that. I think a lot of people intuitively understand this relationship, since a lot of humor comes from it. For example, we love to laugh at Donald Trump eating his steak with ketchup, because while we know he's a high-status guy,
President of the United States,
his material habits and signals are those of a low-status person.
When the cultural critic Roland Barthes wrote that the prestige of steak evidently derives from its quasi-rawness, it was foreshadowing the abuse of Trump for eating his steak well done. If Barthes is right that full-bloodedness is the
raison d'être
of steak, then to eat steak well done is to eat a thoroughly emasculated meal. Attacking Trump's steak-eating habits is therefore not just a mockery of his lower-class markers, but also an assault on his manhood. Is a man that eats feminized steak slathered with sugary imitation blood even a man?
Even a man?
Make it very rare.
That contradiction between his high real status and his love of low status symbols
I know words, I have the best words.
is funny. We can't directly see social relations, so we rely on material symbols of them to understand the social hierarchy, and we find Trump's contradictory signals amusing. We also can't directly see masculinity, It's mostly a set of behaviors, a pattern of how you relate with other people. Anyways, back to
The meat.
Meat plays a similar role in modern American culture, except that instead of representing social status, it represents masculinity.
Is that bacon on your turkey leg?
They call it a Swanson.
Now, back when you needed to hunt and prepare meat by yourself, perhaps there was some link between eating meat and archetypal masculine traits like stoicism.
Are you alright, my friend? I'm perfectly fine.
Physical strength and endurance, self-reliance, protectiveness, and so on.
I killed this dog and harvested its owner's tears.
That's all gone now that you just buy meat at the grocery store, but the association is still there. Lots of men think that simply eating meat or drinking beer makes them more masculine.
No man shall ever turn down free beer, or 5 or 6 or 10 of them.
That by eating it, they absorb the masculinity inherent in the meat. Which is pretty ironic, since meat and beer are both unhealthy and fattening, as we can see from the folks in the basement. And for better or for worse, the traditional masculinity these guys are aspiring to doesn't really mesh with obesity. Meat is really insidious in this way, because the more you eat, the less archetypally masculine you look, leading you to eat even more meat.
Is anyone hungry?
The point is, the only winner here is a capitalist system which tricks people into buying tons of meat instead of actually promoting healthy, emotionally grounded masculinity.
We can bark when we want. Yeah!
So this whole fetishization of meat as masculine actually emasculates men. Penn and Teller accidentally highlight this when they swing next door and run into an exclusively female MLM, this one selling sex toys. Now, sex toys can be part of a healthy sexual relationship, and despite popular media portrayals, can complement rather than substitute for a partner. However, a big part of traditional masculinity is a degree of sexual prowess.
I'm going to intercourse you, no two ways about it.
So to watch a bunch of men trying to absorb the masculinity in the meat, and not just the meat,
It's too small.
while their wives buy sex toys next door, really highlights the point. At the end of the day though, I can't help but sympathize with these people. Their entire environment is this sterile, grey, sprawling subdivision, and the car-centric design of the American suburbs promotes a sedentary lifestyle which makes it difficult to stay in shape. Lots of these guys probably have, at best, fairly rote clerical jobs, and it's hard to feel self-reliant or in control if you're just another cog in a massive corporate bureaucracy.
A company
It's like an enormous clock.
is like an enormous Yes, precisely.
It's hard to be a good provider when there's so much economic insecurity. In short, it's hard to be traditionally masculine in suburban Iowa, so I'm not surprised that so many men turn to idols or fetishes of masculinity to compensate. Penn and Teller actually touch on this.
You know what breaks our hearts? These are good people who believe in what they're doing.
I really hope Man Cave is a major source of income for me.
For a lot of people, an MLM like Man Cave carries with it the promise that for once, you'll be at the top of a pyramid, rather than closer to the bottom. That you'll be in control, instead of just being a cog in a clock.
Only works if all the little cogs mesh together.
It's a pipe dream, but the appeal is understandable. If Marx was right, moving beyond this fetishism might require moving beyond capitalism itself. There are some bright spots. Other YouTubers have discussed more positive models of masculinity that have popped up recently. Masculinities which focus on embracing positive behaviors and traits rather than trying to absorb the essence of masculine fetishes. It's ultimately our traits, behaviors, and our personal relationships that matter. The material is at best a mediator of the social, and at worst, an idol that obscures what really matters. Eat meat if you want, but remember, it's just meat.